Oh, it's recording already. Shit. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today in this video we're doing something super different. It is my 4th time recording this because I find it really difficult to talk about finance and saving because it's such a boring subject with lack of a better word, but I am a long-term believer in investing your money properly, and that's why I'm talking about how I do it today and how you can grow your wealth in a manageable and safe way, I guess. You want to grow your money. Yeah. So I'll be answering some questions that I've received on Instagram about how I manage my money, but before I go into those questions, this video is sponsored by StashAway. So StashAway is a digital wealth planner that I've been using for 4 years now, since 23rd of December 2017. It is actually LinkedIn's top startup, regulated by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, and it is also the World Economic Forum's technological pioneer. I actually wrote down all the things that I wanted to say because it's quite informative video on the application and how I use the app. But before we begin, I'll just give some context into my investment style and my history with investing. Before I started StashAway, I actually had an endowment plan. I started working at 19 when I graduated from junior college. I was earning quite a bit of money that I wanted to save. Since I had no prior knowledge into general investing, I wanted to sign up for an endowment plan, which I still have to this day. However, as the years progress, I realized that I wanted more financial freedom with my money, and that meant the accessibility to pull my money out of my accounts, which you can't do with the endowment plan because they're a bit more fussy with these sort of things. With StashAway, one of the pro benefits of the app was definitely the increased liquidity of my money. There's no minimum deposit, so no matter how old you are or how much money you have, you can put in any amount of money and see some returns. If you put in a large sum of money, there's going to be more returns, but if you put in a steady amount of money every month, the returns are slower. When I started, I think I was like 20 or 21, 2017, I can't remember. I put in a steady amount of money every month. So for me, StashAway was an easy outlet for me to manage my wealth better and to see my savings grow. Another pro that I really enjoy about the app is that they diversified my investments into different foreign markets. So for example, my portfolio has US and China and also emerging markets. So that allows me to earn different returns dependent on different economies, which is great because not all economies are operating at the same level. The last point is that the user face is super easy to use. When you open it, you get a risk assessment questionnaire. So they ask you a few questions to assess your risk. So for me, I picked the lowest risk because as someone who's in the creative industry and also a fresh student out of junior college, now in university, I had very little financial knowledge, so I didn't know what an ETF was, how the stock market worked, and I wasn't comfortable with allowing myself to go into a deep dive into opening a stock account. So with StashAway, that helped me take a step in managing my wealth in a growth active way instead of just saving the money. And one thing I really enjoy about StashAway once you become a member is that they give you weekly updates on the markets and also like political situations and how they tie in to affect your portfolio. Another cool thing as well is that I also learned a lot of financial knowledge through their website, through the webinars that they hold with strong female like financial leaders. I think it's still online. I'll put a link in the description box, but they teach women on how to diversify their portfolios, as generally speaking, according to statistics, more women are cautious with their savings and don't intend on actually putting a large amount of money in investments or into something more risky like crypto. But having more knowledge of the current markets, it actually gives you more financial security and like you don't feel that you're taking a huge risk by doing all of this. Okay, so the next part of the video, I'm definitely gonna touch on my investing style. So before I moved to England, that was like 2 years ago, since I was working as a full-time influencer, so I wouldn't get payments every month. So like after 3 to 4 months, I'll get like, for example, X amount of money. Considering that I don't have to pay rent and I was moving to a foreign country, I wanted to save a lot more of my money. With that in mind, I put 50% of my income into StashAway. That worked out quite well for me. I'm not a very anxious person when it comes to managing my finances on StashAway. Generally speaking, I feel that you can't always actively like go onto the app to track progress every day, because I believe with investments you have to look long term, and for me my long term goal was to start my own business, and if I saw general growth throughout the few months, I was quite satisfied with the app, even though it wasn't like a huge amount of returns. If you have a goal in mind, for example buying a house or starting your own business, they plan your returns according to that. They actually have a section here which I will show, where you can answer a few questions, state your expenses, state how much you want to save, and they plan your returns according to that as well, which is great. Because for someone who doesn't want to think so much about money, they kind of take the autonomy away from the individual, which I actually like, because money is quite stressful. Hold up! Okay, what I meant with the autonomy statement is not actually that they remove the autonomy out of your plans. It's more in the way that I interpret it, because I don't want to have a lot of interference with my wealth management, so I trust the app to do its work for me. However, obviously for different people, you can adjust your plans to your own personal preferences. You are able to take a lot of financial decisions, and so it's not necessarily like autonomy out of your hands, more like being empowered by the app. StashAway has a 50-man client engagement team that gives fact-based answers and are reachable via WhatsApp, Facebook, phone calls and emails, and that makes the app way more personal as well. So I do keep in contact and I feel rather assured. Okay, my battery died, but back to the gist of it. I'm not able to show you how much I've earned, but what's great about this application is that you can see what they are investing for you. My investments are parked into where the hell is it? Generally, since I have the lowest risk assessment, a lot of my assets are parked into government bonds, commodities, fixed income, equity sectors, real estate, international equities, corporate bonds, and cash. The great thing about this app as well is that you can see the different asset classes and the time-weighted return on the application itself. So you can see how different sectors are performing better than others. For example, energy is performing better than consumer staples, and you can see which bonds are doing better as well. There's also a new update where they call re-optimization. So this is something that I wasn't actually familiar with, but I had to do my research and I wrote it all down. So they have this thing called ERAA, which is an economic regime-based asset allocation. So this is their most unique selling point because it avoids human biases when it comes to asset allocation and diversifying your portfolio. So there are 3 different types of ERAA. So the first one is the economic regime's determined asset allocation. So what it means is that it evaluates the momentum of growth and inflation on each market and generally puts money into markets that are performing better. The second part of ERAA is the risk shield, which responds to abnormal market behavior. So when the market is down, it overrules number 1 and move protective asset allocation until market stabilizes. And the third one is valuation gaps. So this is the medium-term valuation gaps and their mean reversion to embed a forward-looking view on assets. So technically speaking, they are looking at growth in your investments. What is so great about all of this is that it allows for a large pool of EFTs, and it also diversifies your assets into different and optimal situations dependent on the economy. Yeah, So this is all the crazy jargon that I thought was necessary to mention. I think for me, I wanted to use StashAway because it allowed me to generally invest my money in a safe and accessible way. I had plans to open Sharpe like right before university. I know, like, weird timing, but I just wanted to do it. I was able to save up quite a bit of money through my investments, and it has given me quite a comfortable life in London, and I'm very thankful. Obviously, it's not just because of this application. I'm still working and I'm earning money right now, so that's why I use StashAway. Moving forward now, let's talk about some questions that you guys asked. Okay, first question was obviously about general savings and how much money do I keep aside then versus now. So when I started saving and started working full-time when I was 19 to 21, I saved up to 30 to 50% of my income. I was able to do that very easily because I was getting a lot of sponsorships. I was living with my mom, and generally speaking, the sponsorships were able to allow me to not spend a lot of money in general, so I was very fortunate in that sense. I know it's not feasible for a lot of people to do this, but this was my own personal situation. You don't have to replicate it. Now, however, I obviously earn less. I don't get as many jobs because I'm in a foreign country. However, I still get work from time to time, and I'm very grateful for that. With that in mind, I still save about 20 to 30% of my income. I put more money into my spending account now because I have more expenses. So for example, going out, transportation, less sponsorship, so I have to pay for hair, I have to pay for makeup, clothes, I spend money on clothes. And obviously now I spend more money on my business. That is probably my biggest expense. That's why I save less money now. The app is actually very multifaceted. It works for a lot of people, young and old. And I actually recommended my mom to use StashAway as well because she herself was not really aware of what to do with her finances. And I think this is a really good question, like, how do I keep track of my finances as a freelancer? So generally speaking, freelancers earn a lot of money, but in compact periods of time. What I do is that I'll keep track of the amount of money that I'm gonna earn, and I try to estimate when they will give me the money. So usually it's about like 1 to 3 months. Then I collate the money, and that allows me to budget my finances properly. So when I have a large amount of money coming in, I'll make sure that it will last me for 3 to 4 months, and that allows me to keep myself comfortable. A lot of people also mentioned in the questions that they heard that StashAway returns are quite negligible. I think it's quite a fair question because if you put in a smaller amount of money, obviously in a shorter amount of time as well, which is super important to mention the time period, the returns are definitely going to be negligible. You have to probably factor in the fact that we're also in the... I kind of messed up on this part, like we're not in a recession right now. Who knew? We are in an inflationary growth environment. So we are seeing clear signals of inflation growth in the US and disinflation growth in non-US economies. So during this inflation growth environment, it is important to beef up your defenses against inflation and increase growth opportunities globally. These are not pointers to tell you what to do, but they're just like information so that you can make better decisions for your investments. I've seen some dips in my amount of money earned, but because I've put in my money in StashAway for such a long time, generally it's like an upward growth. So you just have to be patient and be consistent with the investments as well, like how much money you're putting into the account. And another question is, which one is better, StashAway or Safe? It's pronounced as Safe. I have never used Safe, so I can't really comment, but I have mentioned my positive experiences with StashAway. You can be the judge and you can let me know in the comments which app you prefer as well, because I do enjoy an open discussion. And definitely we have to touch on the returns calculator. So there are many ways to measure returns, and StashAway calculates returns in the following ways. So there's money weighted returns. So that gauges the effectiveness of your timing and size of your deposits and withdrawals. So technically speaking, you can withdraw money. For me, I did withdraw money across certain periods as well. On the other hand, time weighted returns is an easy metric to compare returns between different portfolio managers. So it measures the portfolio manager's ability to generate returns and not the effects of your deposit and withdrawal behaviors. It does this by tracking your performance from the first deposit you make into a portfolio. Someone asked my view on cryptocurrency. I don't invest anything in crypto because I have no idea what's going on with the markets, and I really can't be bothered to look through it every day. However, I know some people who do it and they really enjoy it. Generally, my view on StashAway in the long term is just for me to park my money and to grow my wealth in a sustainable way, and it allows me to feel financially happy. Sometimes when I feel like upset that I'm spending way too much money, I look at my app and then I feel a bit like satisfied because I know that I'm taking reassurances to protect myself by saving money as well, and my savings are leading to investments and growth in my income. Lastly, before we end the video, if you guys have any thoughts and concerns about StashAway or any issues that you are facing, you can leave them in the comment section below. They want to respond and help you guys with the situation that you're in. So this really thumbs up, man. Amazing. So before I end the video, make sure you like and subscribe, please. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.